Some of you may be feeling anxious right now. Maybe something big is going on in your life. Maybe you're in this midst of a huge change or whatever is happening. I like to look at these transitional phases or anything big that's going on in my life as, as a painting. I am working on a painting right now it's quite big and it has so much of layers in front of me to add up on, but all I can do is to make this one brush stroke at a time. And it makes me less overwhelmed around the work that I need to put in. And how will I, end certain details or whatever. It's just one brush stroke at a time. Like for example, when you're paying bills, it's one bill at a time and you may be like, how will I be able to manage all of that? Or how will I make more money? Or whatever is the situation, it's one thing at a time, one breath at a time, one task at a time, one challenge at a time, one problem at a time, and then slowly moving on, one solution at a time. Eventually everything gets resolved. But the thing is, we usually tend to really jump from one thing to another mentally, and that's what makes us feel overwhelmed and anxious. Like you have a meeting in front of you and you mentally jump to that meeting, but because you have no experience how it will end up, you tend to think about the worst possible scenario, so you would be prepared in case it happens, so you would not be so disappointed, right? And it makes you feel anxious. While the truth is, you can actually prepare for the best. Maybe it will work out. Maybe you will find a solution. Maybe they will truly love you. And I like to just, mentally rehearse these outcomes that would actually serve me. To mentally prepare myself for the best possible outcome. Because what if it works? What if it happens? Like, I don't start painting with an idea that I will fail with it. Even though sometimes I truly fail. Sometimes it really doesn't happen the way I thought it will, but had I failed with it, or had I learned a new technique that I can then use with the next one? Many failed paintings led me to become more skillful, so now I can do something like this, and it's still at the beginning of the process, but eventually you will see a finished painting and you will say, oh, it looks so great. Yeah, it looks great because so many times before paintings were not so great, right? And all of that really taught me that, this feeling of anxiousness is really not something worthy to be lost in. You don't need to be lost in anxiousness. You can just make sure that you do one step at a time, one breath at a time. When you feel overflowed with anxiety, to let go of it, focus on breathing. There's psychologists often use this technique. It's called box breathing, where you breathe for 4 seconds in, then you hold for 4 seconds, and you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold at the bottom for 4 seconds, and then you breathe in once again. And you keep doing it until you get more kind of indulged in breathing and less in thinking. The thing is, you can't think and feel at the same time. Like, you can't really get overflown by feelings of bliss or peace and keep thinking about a problem. It's only one or another. you can be lost in a problem. Like yesterday somebody wrote, or maybe 2 days ago, somebody wrote in a comment, like it's so hard to meditate because as soon as I sit down I start to think about my problems. And even when I focus on my breathing, I still think about problems. But you know, the thing is, it's all about time management. Because if we don't manage our time for worrying and for thinking constructively about problems, then we'll be thinking about problems all day long, right? Great business people and entrepreneurs, they don't think about problems all the time. They have meetings for that. They have gatherings with other group members for resolving a challenge, right? And then they brainstorm it. And that's what meditation is all about. It's to really become familiar with a problem, then to become familiar with your mindset behind the problem. So when you get overflown with a problem in meditation, it's a good thing because then you can reflect on it. You can really investigate where your mind is around that thing. Are you just thinking about it, or are you also resolving it? And what's the potential solution? If you don't have any idea what solution could be, then it means you're lacking the right perspective for it. Which means it would be healthy to talk with someone about it, with a friend or maybe a family member or a co-worker or a therapist, or I don't know, someone who can guide you through it. So we need to understand that most of the time we just don't know what to do, and we don't even know what we don't know until we investigate like the field of what we need to learn. And that's another reason why we feel anxious many times. We don't know what we need to learn, so we just jump around in this reactive state, and that's why I'm constantly showing up here to you, reminding you, hey, slow down a little bit, slow down a little bit. You will find a way, but you can't force it. You can't force a weather to just, bring the sun out. You can't force a business to just grow out of nowhere. You can't force a person to love you. There's nothing you can just force like that. The only thing that's truly in your control is it's your state of being, it's your attitude you have towards things. And if you slow down a little bit and recognize there's no need to try to force something to happen, or to try to control something, or even to try to change yourself. You don't need to try to change yourself. You can just slow down and you recognize change just happens. It just happens. Like if you sit down here, you focus on breathing, your mind will still be active. It will still be active. You will be thinking about this and that and that. But then you need to know what to do with your mind. Will you stay focused on these thoughts, or will you focus on something else? Like neuroscience has discovered, if you focus on empty space, like not material things, but empty space, you close your eyes, you focus on nothingness, like the space between your left and right ear, the space between your left and right shoulder, the space between your body and the walls. What happens? You kind of get lost in the space. You don't truly become lost, but you become connected to the space. When you're connected to the space, you're not lost in thinking anymore. So your mind goes into a more pleasant state of being, where you get into a state in which I am right now as I'm painting. You get into a creative state. Creative state is a playful state. It's like a state where there is no problems. There are more like fun challenges to resolve, because deep inside you understand that you've come here to learn to resolve challenges that on higher realms are much harder to resolve if you're not in a physical form. Like, it's so much harder to learn about relationships if you're not in a physical form, because here you have emotions to deal with. Emotions are, like, those are quite intense energies that we work with. And usually they're byproducts of what happens in the mind. So everything you feel in the body, first it started in your mind. It started in the way you've been thinking about it. And more you dig into it, more you dig into yourself, into your own mechanisms of how you think, how you feel, how you behave, more you begin to understand that there's a chain reaction to everything. It's all connected. There's a chain reaction. Like, when you focus on empty space, you start to feel space. You start to feel empty space within you. And it feels pleasant because it's calmness. When you focus on unorganized problems, you will feel unorganized chaos inside of you. You need to look at any problem very constructively, like, okay, what can be one step at a time I can do here? That's how you let go of anxiety. What can be one step at a time I can do here? And notice that you can truly do just one thing at a time. You can do two different things at the same moment. You do one thing at a time. And train your mind to look at things like that, like, I will do one thing at a time. Like, I will read a book right now and I will not scroll on my phone at the same time. Or I will just think about this challenge and I will not think about what I will cook in the afternoon. Or I will just, focus on what I'm thinking about and I will not think about what that other person said about me. And just train yourself to do one thing at a time, here and there. To notice how many times you're multitasking and therefore you feel anxious. Like, we are all multitasking at so many things, I think. But then we don't reset ourselves and get back into this state of slowing down and noticing that, life doesn't need to move so fast. Because great things are done slowly. This painting, I will not finish it today. I will not finish it today, not tomorrow. I will probably work on it for weeks. Every single day I will be adding up something. Like one brush stroke at a time. And that removes anxiety. This YouTube channel was not built in one day. One video at a time, my friend. One video at a time. So your life will get resolved, one solution at a time. Anxiety makes you feel stuck in a believing there is no solution. But there's always a solution. There's a solution for everything. The great wisdom by our ancient ancestors is that they taught us life never throws a challenge that is bigger than you could resolve to you. So when you notice that challenges are becoming bigger and more intense, it's a sign of your upgrading. It's a sign of your growth. It just means that you're ready to make your life more complex, and with more complexity comes also more responsibility. With more responsibility comes more power, right? With more power comes more rewards. With more rewards comes more opportunities. And with more opportunities come more experiences. That's how everything works. It starts with bigger challenges. Like when you start working on any kind of a business, like you want to, I don't know, expand your business, or you want to find a new job, or expand your income streams. You firstly need to face with a challenge like, what do I want to do? Knowing what you want. And then understanding what habits to change so you can actually learn this new skill. Like when my younger brother went into trading, he wanted to learn trading. And then for the next 2 years, he joined into one group where they've been studying certain methods to use to actually make some money with it. So he joined a group where he met people with similar goals, similar interests, and they were learning together. And 2 years later, he started actually making some real money with it. That's how it works. His challenge was, okay, I want to make my own money and I don't want to work for someone. He has a job, he's still working for someone, but he decided, well, in the future I don't want to work like this, so I will become a solution for this for this challenge. And that's how it works, one thing at a time, right? Some people get lost in this kind of anxiety and they never do anything about it. And then other people, they look at life as one thing at a time. One thing at a time, one book at a time, one lesson at a time, one challenge at a time, one breath at a time. And then we move on and we start looking at everything like this. I've just started looking at my life like this, like one brush stroke at a time, one video at a time, one meeting at a time, one project at a time. Well, sometimes I work on more projects, but still, when you have time for this particular project, you're only there. You don't think about other ones. You're there fully. And then you move to another one and you're there fully on that other project, right? The point is that you don't jump from one to another without being fully present with where you are. I think this is the greatest cause of anxiety. We are where we are, but mentally we are somewhere else. Because we haven't learned this art of doing anything one step at a time. Everything is connected, my friend, everything. Thought leads to an emotion, emotion leads to action, and action leads to experience. An experience leads to surprise or disappointment. It depends on what was here and how you've responded to what you've been thinking about. Sometimes you wake up, like they say, with a left foot, right? And you may start your day like a chicken, jumping around, doing all kinds of different things. Don't be a chicken, my friend. Don't be a chicken. You need to slow down and recognize, okay, if I'm not following my own will, then I'm most probably following the chaos in my body, just responding to the chaos that's present in my body. So you're kind of a victim of your own chemistry you've produced, because you had no idea how to treat it differently. There are some impulses and you've been maybe a bit impulsive around them, because you had no idea how to manage it. It felt unpleasant, so you've been just doing what your body asked you to do. Well, as soon as your body starts giving you orders, you need to ask yourself, are those my orders, or are those some habitual things I've been doing unconsciously? And usually we keep returning back to this questioning, like, are these my orders? Because right now I could just lay down and be lazy, but I wanted to paint. And I wanted to share a message with you. And this was my will. This was my clear choice, like, I will do it. I can guarantee you that if I would not do it, if I would lay down and be lazy right now, I would feel kind of anxious about it, because I feel inspired for something. I feel like I need to share something with you, but I'm not doing it. And that's what often happens to many artists. Like, they feel they want to create something, but then they don't create anything because they feel like they're not good enough or they're not skilled enough. And then they just dwell in this anxiety or worry. But the thing is, I've recognized many times we don't feel worthy to start, or we don't feel good enough to start. But if we don't start, we'll never feel good enough. If we start, it actually increases our self-worth, because we recognize, okay, I've done something today. And it's kind of self-love, isn't it? Doing something that you wanted to do. Something that actually gives you a sense of satisfaction, a sense of joy, a sense of playfulness. Just start, my friend. Just start. Simple as that. Just start. And see what happens then. Maybe you will get into flow. Maybe you will not. But I bet you've learned something. You've done something. And the next time when you try again, you will be more aware. You will know better. So just start where you are and see where it takes you. My friends, I will leave you here. I hope you found some value today. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. And I want to say thanks to everyone for choosing to support my art. I truly appreciate you. With that, you're supporting this mission. So thank you so much. It means a lot. You can find all of my art in our store, AttractPassion.com, or Etsy store, AttractPassion. And also thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community for more exclusive content and Q&As, answering your questions and so on. So thank you so much, my friends, and till next time, one love.